As we approach Saturday's somber milestone, two local healthcare professionals are sharing their experiences of working in New York hospitals on that fateful day. News 12 Connecticut's Marissa Alter with a look back.
There are certain things that bring me to that. You know, the September sky in New York brings me to that day every time when I look up and there's not a cloud in the sky.
Dr. Frank Aluzzi is Hartford Healthcare's medical director for specialty services. But Aluzzi was the chief resident at Long Island Jewish Medical Center in Queens 20 years ago when terrorists flew two planes into the World Trade Center.
We didn't even send an alert out, and I had 100 docs and nurses show up immediately, just instinctively, saying, how can we help?
Aluzzi says the hospital immediately enacted its disaster plan, preparing for an onslaught of patients, an estimated 500 to 1,000. But he tells us only a dozen or two came, the number of survivors far fewer than first thought.
It was really deflating. I mean, it was an awful, awful sinking feeling. I mean, anybody who went through it, that day just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse the whole day.
Hartford Healthcare's president and CEO witnessed it firsthand.
How far were you from the World Trade Center?
We were less than 2 miles.
Jeff Flax worked at St. Vincent's Hospital in Lower Manhattan.
We were actually in our boardroom having a meeting, and we heard a loud noise at the hospital campus. They immediately closed down 7th Avenue. All of our doctors and nurses and different staff members sprung into action and really created hundreds of beds on 7th Avenue between 11th and 12th Street.
Flax says the initial rush brought more than 300 patients, physically hurt but also emotionally traumatized. He also remembers the faces of so many family members learning their loved ones hadn't made it to the hospital.
It was devastating, just devastating to see, and it's something I certainly will never forget.
20 years later, it's still hard.
Dr. Aluzzi tells me every anniversary reopens old wounds, but he's found a personal remedy.
I try and dwell on all the good things that people did that day to help each other, and that's what how I try and get through this day.
Marissa Alter, News 12 Connecticut.